Hello everybody, Joe Tactical here again. In this video I just wanted to share with you a really cool piece of gear. I kind of went back in time in a sense and went to one of the classic designs because I wanted a very simple designed multi-tool. Now yes, this doesn't have all the bells and the whistles and the pliers and this and that and everything else, but it makes it a very capable tool. Okay, now if I thought that I was going to have a need for an expanded tool set or something like that, I would try to plan accordingly. Of course, things happen. Sometimes you end up, taking on a bigger task than you thought, and you might be under-tooled. But this specific tool, this Swiss Army Tinkerer, is basically for me to bring along with me wherever I go and don't plan on needing any tool at all. Okay, so with that in mind, it brings huge capability to the table with a $25 price tag and weighing in at about 2.5 ounces, give or take. So to me, that's huge in a compact size. Perfect. Very perfect. Alright, now let's check it out a little bit here. First, we'll check it out, and you see some scratches and stuff like that from my pocket, and that's just fine with me. That's pretty cool. And I put a lanyard on here, just something real basic and stupid. It has this little split ring loop on here that you can attach it and everything else. And we'll go back to the back of the tool, and over here you have this little awl or punch or whatever you want to call it, and it's got a decent edge on this side, and then it's kind of got that what's it called, crow's foot or something like that, whatever you call it, sheep's foot, I think that's what it is, kind of sheep's foot curve to it, so that way if you need to punch something or stitch something up, repair some gear on the fly, whatever you need to do, you can do that. It also has the hole right there. And the screwdriver is really cool. Now there's screwdriver sizes go by like 1, 2, or 3. I'm not going to get overly complicated because that's just not my way. But some screwdrivers, the larger kind can't necessarily get into the smaller screws. You would have to get the screwdriver that's appropriate for the screw. And that is a good way of thinking. But on the fly, you can't carry around several different types of screwdrivers. Yes, I understand there's multi-tools like the Charge TTI by Leatherman that I have that has multiple bit drivers and things like that. Well, I got to tell you something. That adds a lot more complexity, this and that and everything else. We're not going for that with this intended use or purpose, if you will. But I want to say this. For being a larger, probably a number 2, between a number 2 to number 3, but more on the lines of a number 2 Phillips screwdriver head, this will fit screws that are probably number 1. Okay, I actually tested it out the other day. I had to get into something that was electronics, and it worked just fine. So you got to think, if you're somewhere out and about or something like that, you need to take a remote control thing apart. Now replacing batteries and needing a screwdriver, first of all, to me that's kind of stupid unless it's a waterproof design. But if that's the case, it's not a glamorous task. All right, it's not like you're prying off a hatch to a submarine and you needed this to MacGyver your way out of it or whatever. It's not a glamorous thing, but let's face it, on a day-to-day basis, let's be realistic, this is what we use our tools that we carry on our person for. So it's very good that it has a fine tip and is capable of that. Is it capable of the super small Phillips screws that are probably like -2 or whatever? Definitely not, because it's kind of blunt at the tip. But you would want that because it would probably get a little chewed up a little bit if it was sharper than that. And also, if it was sharper than it is, it wouldn't allow to get enough depth to access the bigger screws. Sorry if I'm going into too much detail here, but I find as though that's important, and I would want to know that if I was watching this video. So maybe I'm the only weirdo or whatever. Nope, that guy thinks the same thing. Right on, man. But let's check out the little blade selection here. Now this is very basic, okay? You're not getting a billion things with this, but you're getting a good amount of tools considering the size of this. And I like that a lot. Okay, you have your basic blade here. This is the longer of the two, and that's probably about a 2-inch blade, give or take. And then over here you probably have about a 1 1/4 inch blade, maybe a 1 1/4, maybe 1 1/2, something like that. And this, if that's the case, maybe this one's 2 1/4 or something. I'm not exactly sure. But you have your longer blade, then you have your shorter blade, and then you have your can opener with the smaller flathead screwdriver bit. And then you have the bottle opener, bottle opener over here with the slightly larger flathead bit. Now, I don't really open cans or bottles with this. If I had to, I could, and I'm glad I have the tools on me to do so. Really, I would just open a bottle with a Bic lighter. Maybe I'll do a video on that if you guys are interested or whatever. But I don't drink or anything or open anything with bottles or bottle caps like that, so I don't have a need for it anyway. But nevertheless, because this specific tool, this tinkerer, is kind of limited with the tools, you can use, you know, the can opener or the bottle opener for other things as well. I'm not recommending you pry with it, but there's certain things, if you're prying leather or something like that, it's something along the lines of not like metal, trying to pry a hood open or something with this, which you probably wouldn't be able to do. But in certain applications, that would be useful as well. Or this is a puller or something. You know, you get creative. You use what you have because it's what you have, and you don't get something like, you know, the Leatherman Charge TTI is a great multi-tool and it's got everything with it. It's got a bit set and all that kind of stuff, but it's too darn heavy. It's just too darn heavy. I tried, I persevered through it, I started to be stubborn with it because I liked the capabilities it gave me, but really I would rather have the creative mindset that come along with me to make do with something like this, to, you know, to offset the need to carry around a ½ pound of a multi-tool if I don't need everything on there. There's a couple things on there I really didn't use, so why is it being brought along? Okay. Now, just to give you guys an idea as far as my intended use for this longer blade would be for food prep, and this shorter blade here would be for emergency first aid access. And this little blade would never really be used for anything unless it had to be called upon for the role of first aid, whatever that situation may be, so that I know that I can always trust that blade for being as sharp as I left it. Okay? Now, this longer blade, the main blade of the whole knife or tool, that would be for your food prep, your cutting apples, different things like that. I really wouldn't intend on it being used for utility tasks because I actually carry, you know, a 3.5-inch folding knife in my pocket on the other side, my strong side, so that way that's my utility blade. Excuse me. So I carry a total of 4 knives on my person. To give you guys a little sneak peek, for those that might be interested, I was carrying the SE3 on my weak side just as an emergency one-piece survival kit. Okay? Well, I scrapped the idea with the SE3 and I upgraded to the SE4, and again, that is also kept on my weak side. On my strong side, in my front pocket, I have my Kershaw Scamp, and that's my utility blade. That's the blade to get used every day, several times a day, you know, whenever I need a knife. Alright, and then I would have my food prep blade here, which I really don't depend on having this, but in certain situations, I'm glad that I have it, and I've used it a little bit for apples and different things like that. I think I cut a pear too. Usually I eat the skin off a pear, but I cut the pear with it, I think, before messing around with different slices and stuff like that. But I've never used that that shorter of the two blades right there. And also, you'll see it has tweezers. I love these things. Let me tell you, this is very handy. You wouldn't necessarily realize how much, or at least for me, I didn't realize how much I missed these and would use them until I started having it. And once you're like, wait a minute, I got them on me, and then you start finding yourself using them all the time. At least that's how it was for me. I don't know if I'm like infatuated with just having them, or if it's a subconscious thing, or what, but very useful, and I really don't ever want to not have tweezers on me from now on. And on the other side, you have a toothpick. I like the toothpick. I wouldn't necessarily use it only for picking crap out of my teeth. Definitely, you know, you got some barbecue or something like that, you got to get it out there and your fingernail just won't do it or whatever. This is definitely a good option to have on you, but I've used this for a few other things, just stupid stuff, but you're glad you got it on you. So that's a very valuable tool as well, and it takes up no room, no weight, all that kind of good stuff. And again, at about a $25, I would say anywhere between $20 if you got a good deal and $30 if you're paying a little too much. But it's still worth it. I would look at this, to me that's worth 30 bucks. To me that's worth 35 bucks. Because again, it comes in under 3 ounces. I think it, don't quote me on this guys, but I think it comes in at about 2.6 something ounces. And that's incredible. If you compare that to some of the other, you know, multi-tools like medium weight multi-tools and things like that, that's about half, if not a little less than half the weight as some of those other options. Granted, they do have some other tools and functions that this might not have, but nevertheless, sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer. So just want to share this with you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop me a line. Again, this is the Swiss Army Tinkerer for about 25 bucks and under 3 ounces. So you got to give credit where credit's due with the classics. Thank you very much for watching. Joe Tactical out.